Gentlemen, this time you need to have a champagne glass ready because we're going to do a toast. But I'm going to ask you to be seated because I think there's going to be a little bit, so you can be seated, ladies and gentlemen. We need our best man, Bryan, to please make his way to the dance floor. Ladies and gentlemen, let us see together for our best man.
Good evening, everybody. Yes. All right. It appears that I'm reading from the cards because I absolutely am. So let's start with that. But there comes a time in everyone's life when they meet their one true love, their soulmate, the one person that is going to know and love them the rest of their life. And that moment came for Dominic 16 years ago when he met me. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Bryan, and I'm honored to say that I'm Dominic's best and closest friend. Tonight, I have been granted the privilege to speak on behalf of both Dominic and Janelle, which unfortunately for you means you have to listen to me for double the time. So buckle up, settle down, especially Enrico, wherever he is out there. I would first like to thank Tanis Khan and Anna and Enrico Martignetti for all their effort in helping Dominic and Janelle put this wonderful evening together. Come on. I also want to welcome all friends and family here tonight, some of which traveled all the way from Canada. In Minnesota. And if any of you are even remotely as crazy as cousin Camilo, then it's going to be... And Janelle, looking smashing, to say the least, all right? Absolutely beautiful. Let's give it up for our bride here. Yes, and Dominic, you know, all anybody can ask is just give it your best effort. You did that today. We're glad you're here tonight. We're glad you're here tonight. All right. So last note, sticking to tradition, Dominic and Janelle did not stay together last night. I had the privilege of having Dominic stay with me. And I'd just like to say that anybody that can put up with Dominic snoring deserves more than a diamond ring. And honestly, it's like sleeping next to an injured rhinoceros. I'm not even kidding. It's bad. As all best men should do, I'd like to tell you about Dominic's accomplishments. I think we have time for all two of them. Okay. So the first was his male modeling trophy that he received from Barbizon Modeling Agency back in the early 90s after his trip to California, where I guess he danced with Michelle Pfeiffer and just swept her off her feet. Unfortunately, I don't have that trophy with me, but I was able to rustle up an old photo shoot of him, so just give me 1 second. Yes. This kid is an absolute stallion, all right? He looks like a 12-year-old Donnie Brasco, let's be honest. I mean, this is bad. You want to hold this now? What happened? I don't know. But more importantly, the second accomplishment would be today, his wedding day. I couldn't be more proud that Dominic had the prudence and foresight to realize that Janelle deserved only the most remarkable and dignified man to marry, and that he was smart enough to marry her before she found that man. Good looks and a brain, I mean, come on. Here's the man. Come on. All right. But, excuse me. But in all seriousness, the most memorable moments of my life, the greatest adventures I've ever been on, and the most sincere conversations I've had were with Dominic. Experiencing my youth alongside him was a voyage that would challenge any epic journey throughout history. Our chariot was a 1991 Chevy Blazer. Yes. Our theme song was Be My Lover by LaBouche. And our castle was the BBC in Saugus. You guys have all been there. So. All right. We had the world on a string. Nevertheless, for 16 years, Dominic Martignetti has never once failed to be my best friend, my ally, my supporter, and ultimately he's become a brother to me. He's a man of honesty and integrity, and when you tell him that you need help with something, he doesn't ask what or why, but instead where and when. Now, many of us grew up with tales from Mother Goose, like Little Red Riding Hood and Sleeping Beauty, but for me, I grew up with tales from Dominic Martignetti about magical tryouts for the World Cup soccer tournament, mystical blackjack games with DMX at the Bellagio High Rollers table, which he still claims is true. But Dominic's flair for storytelling is actually exemplified in the way that he met Janelle. Yes. You see, Dominic was by no means, and I'm going to stress this, by absolutely no means was he in the market to purchase a home. But he heard about this smoking hot blonde bombshell that worked for Century 21. And after she showed him 6 or 7 houses, all of which just weren't quite what he was looking for, he asked her on a date. Miraculously, I know, she said yes. It couldn't have been a week later that he brought her to Chris Serino's house for a barbecue to meet all of us. He jumped out of the car. He literally left her like a cloud of dust. He ran over to me and he said, "Hey, lastly, please." He's like, "Don't make fun of me in front of or say anything to make me look stupid." Well, listen, so I looked down at his yellow capri pants and his open-toed Birkenstock shoes and realized how difficult the task this was really going to be. Somehow, I managed, and when I saw her, it was immediately evident to me why he wanted to give her such a good impression. She was all smiles and looked just as pretty as she does today. She introduced herself, we shook hands, and I turned to Dominic and saw the most outlandish smile on his face. It was really awkward. And I looked at Janelle and I saw the same ridiculous smile on her face. And I realized that these two fools were actually in love. They never left each other's side the rest of the barbecue. And by the good grace of God, Dominic spilled sangria on those yellow capris and we never get to see those again. But as time went on, and I realized they were getting serious, I asked Dom what her last name was. Typical question. And he wouldn't tell me. And then one day I wanted to sell my condo, and she's a real estate agent. I said, "Can I have Janelle's phone number? I'd like her to help you sell my condo." And he wouldn't give it to me. So needless to say, I learned that I had to bypass Dominic and move on to Janelle's mom, Tanis, who I've nicknamed Genghis Khan, and learn things about Janelle, or get what I wanted to get. But in doing so, I got more than Janelle's last name and phone number, as I will show you. Hold on. What I learned was that this young lady was a great student who loved to draw. She was quite shy in her younger years. And she went from a beautiful ballerina to a gorgeous bride that makes my best friend the happiest man in the world. And I thank you for that. Now, to close out my speech, I want to leave time for applause, of course. So, I would very much enjoy captivating the audience with colorful stories about my ridiculous exploits with Dominic. But this is clearly not an appropriate venue for such things. Unfortunately, I can't tell you what kind of piercings he got at Hampton Beach back in high school. I can't explain the story behind our 4-mile midnight trek from one side of Waltham to the other. However, Colby could. I don't know where he's sitting. He could explain that. I can't tell you why we ended up at a rest stop on the side of the highway in New York City when we were 16 at 4 a.m. on a school night. But what I can tell you is that Dominic Martignetti is a man with a magnificent heart, astonishing loyalty, genuine character, and a man that will stand by your side during the good and bad things that come along in this world. Janelle, you're certainly the luckiest girl. Call him your husband. I think I lost my place. No, after. I'm definitely no expert on relationships or marital advice, or at least that's the consensus among young ladies here in the Metro Boston area. However, a wise man once told me that a successful marriage requires falling in love many times, always with the same person. Dominic and Janelle, I've honestly witnessed that many times with you, and I know that'll continue throughout your marriage. You each deserve the very best, and you have found that in one another. I love you both. I'm so honored to be a part of your wedding. And Janelle, just remember, I know you're his wife, but I've loved him longer. So, let me get my beer. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So here's to our beautiful bride and groom. Stand up, please. Come on. So here's to our beautiful bride and groom, and a forever filled with happiness and love. And as you Italians say, Shantani.
Yeah. Shantani. Salud.
All right, let's get this. Let's get a ladies and gentlemen for Bryan.